Hello everyone and welcome to our weather update on Wednesday the 1st of July 2026. Right, so we're currently starting July, so we're into high summer now, and we're starting off on quite a blustery note. We have an area of low pressure to our north, and most of the rain with that is into parts of Ireland and Scotland and northern England, but some clouds and wind also in more southern counties. The extreme heat from last week has now pushed all the way into Eastern Europe, and the boundary between that heat and the cooler, fresher air from the west is marked by this area of thundery weather. And however, for now, Western Europe is in a cooler, fresher run of westerly winds, but the Azores High is likely to ridge northwards through the weekend and next week to bring another warm or even hot spell or heat wave. Right, so moving on through the UKV, higher risk Shetland. You see this evening, a lot of rain into parts of Scotland, northern England, and parts of Ireland, and some cloud further south. Best of the bright spells are through parts of Wales and England, especially in the south. Overnight then, we'll see cloud and patchy rain edge southwards overnight, accompanied by some quite gusty winds. Behind that, we'll see winds veer towards the northwest, and a few showers will move into Scotland. But overall, not too dangerous overnights. Bit blustery, few showers, but otherwise pretty decent. Right, so tomorrow, Thursday, we'll have widely bright skies coming through on that northwesterly wind behind that front. A few showers into parts of Scotland and northern and western Ireland, but on the whole, those will be the major exception to the rule, and we'll see largely bright skies with only a bit of fair cloud coming through like cumulus. Overnight on Thursday, we'll see further bits of cloud moving in from the west, high, medium and low cloud, and a few showers as well, these mainly affecting Scotland and parts of northern England. Now on Friday morning, we'll see an area of rain starting to move towards Scotland, and this is because we'll start seeing an area of high pressure move in towards the south, and that will keep things across parts of Wales, England and Ireland sunny, bright and warm. However, in Scotland and parts of western and northern Ireland, you will be on the northern edge of the high, and therefore exposed to a westerly or even a southwesterly winds, and that would be moisture-laden, long fetch, so a lot of rainfall coming through on that. So low cloud, misty, damp, drizzly, and sometimes some heavier rain, especially over higher ground. As that moisture-laden air rises over the high ground, it cools, condenses into more clouds and more rain. But conversely, east of the high ground, so in this pattern, even parts of Scotland in the east can do pretty well for drier and brighter spells as the cloud dumps its moisture over the western highlands and dries up and breaks as it moves towards the east, and some fun effects could see temperatures rising as well into the low 20s. So there we go. You notice the heaviest rain always in the west of Scotland, and always lighter rain towards the east as it dries up over the high ground. Then we go into Saturday, the clouds spill southwards, and we see largely bright skies again through parts of the south, a few showers in parts of Northern Ireland, Northern England, parts of Ireland itself, as the cold front just starts to edge southwards a bit. But it should largely fizzle as it runs into that area of high pressure. On Sunday, we'll see further areas of rain coming through, especially in the north, again exposed to that westerly winds on the northern side of the high pressure. Elsewhere, across many areas of Wales and England, you're decently dry and sunny. Ireland, quite cloudy overall, but quite warm and bright in the south and southeast. Into Monday, well, we'll keep seeing that same theme persist. So again, more drizzle, low cloud, and rain into Scotland, especially the west of Scotland, and always drier and brighter the further east and south you go, and warmer as well, and quite humid because we'll see the air mass streaming in from the west and southwest. That is a very humid direction, quite similar to the air source from our heat wave back in June. So let's go through our temperature forecast. You can see today, Wednesday, again, nothing too exceptional. High teens, low 20s, again, as usual, always warmest further east and south you go. Now, that's the main theme through the next few days, except the temperatures will rise overall, but still that gradient from northwest to southeast. So overnight tonight be quite mild for parts of Wales and England. Elsewhere, post cold front, it will be cooler. So tomorrow, Thursday, well, with largely bright skies, temperatures again high teens, low 20s, maybe temperatures about 1 degree or 2 degrees higher than those of today. But still, with that wind in from northwest, it will be not the warmest air mass. Into Friday, some areas could start quite chilly under clear skies. And through Friday itself, well, temperatures more widely reaching the low 20 Celsius, and possibly in some areas of England and Wales, the mid 20s. So we're seeing this gradual rise in temperatures, just bit by bit, incremental. Saturday morning starts milder, as we see more cloud cover on that weakening cold front. And by Saturday afternoon, well, more areas pegged back into the high teens, given that cold front, it does come southwards. But ahead of it, in parts of eastern and southeastern England, we see temperatures reaching the high 20s and possibly a localised 30 degrees on Saturday. It just shows you the warm air mass is building again under the high pressure. Into Saturday night, quite a muggy night for parts of England especially, a bit cooler for the north. And Sunday itself, well, more widely again reaching low 20s or even mid 20s, and as always, unfortunately for Scotland, we'll be really struggling, especially in the west. Now that's what I was talking about. In the west, you're exposed to those winds, and therefore we see a lot of rainfall, a lot of cloud, a lot of air condensing over the hills. We see a lot of rain, but as it dries up, it leads to less rainfall and possibly some bright breaks on the eastern side of the highlands. And as the air descends from the mountains, it warms up. So parts of Scotland, like Aberdeenshire, for example, could easily see temperatures up to 19 or even 20 degrees over the next few days, in contrast with the low teens, like 10 degrees in the west. And into Sunday, quite a similar theme. And Monday would be quite similar as well, but with an increase in clear spells. We might see higher temperatures. If we see this cloud come southwards, temperatures will be more pegged back quite widely. Okay, so here's the GFS 12 said. So again, here's that low, bringing in these blustery winds and some rain, heaviest in the north, mainly dry in the south, weakening cold front tonight. And then Thursday and Friday, Azores High starts to show its hand, but it doesn't really get past, say, the Celtic Sea. Therefore, in the south, you're always drier, warmer, lighter winds. In the north, you see right there, long fetch westerly winds, all the way from the Azores, and therefore it's very humid, muggy, moisture-laden, and quite damp. And in the south, if we do see the temperatures up to the high 20s or even 30 degrees, it means that it'll be quite oppressive and humid, just given the source of the air. Into Saturday and Sunday, similar theme again. That's basically a rather static pattern there. The high pressure just right there. It doesn't go northwards. There's quite a lot of energy, you see, coming through Greenland, Iceland, so that keeps it to our south. Quite a lot of stress put on it. from those areas of low pressure. You see quite deep lows there, but by Monday near Iceland, Greenland, also over Scandinavia. So it just simply can't ridge northwards, seeing as those deep lows are there. Right, but by next Tuesday, we do have the we do have that area of high pressure more centred over us, so that would see a more widespread return to drier and warmer weather. Even in Scotland, you might see some cloud breaks in the west. Even still, you're exposed to that southwesterly wind, so I'm not sure about that. Wednesday, Thursday, that high pressure weakens and pushes eastwards, and we see westerly winds return. Maybe a bit of thunder in the transition there, and well, we end up going into more high pressure beyond that, and by mid-July, looking properly warm to hot and dry, and we have a big area of high pressure coming in from the Azores. Should be quite warm and dry with that. Upper temperatures not too hot, but just given mid-July, sun's strong, so if we see day-on-day heating from the sun, we will see temperatures rising and eventually breaking 30 degrees. Mid-July, and we just stay in that pattern really, and maybe a few troughs from the south might see some storms forming across more southern areas. Again, long way off, wait and see. But generally, the trend is through the first half of July to see warmer and dry weather. It won't be a clean switch. It'll be a change that happens over about 2 weeks, possibly here. So I see plenty of weak fronts coming through in the process, some cloud, some low cloud, and some gustier winds at times. Here's the ECM midnight run. So here's that deep low coming through today. For the weekend, again, highs to the south, lows to the north. Quite deep lows, so it keeps the high pressure stalled to our south. It wants to come northwards, but it just simply can't against all that low pressure. And then through next week, okay, so the ECM has the high pressure quite far south. So I think most areas would have quite a lot of cloud at times away from the far south, and where you see some fun effects in shelter, like the east of the Highlands. By the middle of next week, though, we see high pressure ridging up from the south, and that would see a more widespread return to drier and warmer weather. But again, look at that. There's quite a lot of low pressure, a whole zone of low pressure, even near Greenland, Iceland, and so on, and it's quite deep. So it prevents the lows from, not the lows, the highs from coming northwards too much. Also notice that there's quite a stable gradient here between the areas of low pressure and the high pressure. They're very much like layered. So you've got high pressure through the Azores, down through Ireland, the UK, France, off into Europe. It's just a layer of high pressure. Then you've got a layer of low pressure to our north. So typically, what you would need for the Azores High to come northwards in a pattern with a lot of low pressure is you need a deep area of low pressure that has a ridge ahead of it, a clearer zone, a gap, and you need to see strong southerly winds ahead of it, and that would promote an area of high pressure to form right over us. So say if we had a deep area of low pressure around here, and we had a bit of a gap over here, like very little activity going on, bit of a ridge. Well, if you saw a deep low there and a strong southerly push, that would actually promote high pressure forming over here. For example, last August, around the 10th of August, that happened. And we saw a heat wave for a while, especially in England. I remember I was in England and it was boiling hot and humid. But yeah, this pattern is not conducive to Azores High coming north properly. It might try to come north, but ultimately this atmosphere is quite stratified. Very little room for... and also, jet stream looks quite flat as well. It's not really wavy, allowing the high pressures to build northwards. So we end up quite westerly. Quite dry, yes, but still westerly. Rest of the brighter spells to the south, always going to be wetter and cooler and cloudier and breezier in the north. UK map run, this is the midnight run because it's not updated. It failed to, as well as it failed. It's halfway out. It normally comes out at about 5 o'clock, but it's almost 8 now and it hasn't done so. So we're sticking with the midnight run. So here we go. High pressure again, almost dry in the south. Always, you can see that long fetch winds from southwest there, and these troughs, and those will bring areas of rain to you up in the north. And then we end up basically staying the same way as we started, with high pressure into parts of the south, giving you drier, warmer, brighter weather. In the north, you will see constantly weakening fronts, drizzle, cloud, rain. Basically, these charts that I showed you earlier are very unlikely to change in any form. Like, this is the story for the next week or two, given this setup is quite stagnant and hard to shift. You need the jet stream to get more wavy, to allow these high pressure systems to come northwards, or the lows to the south. Or GEM. So here we go. This low sweeps through. Azores High tries to come north. It does bring, as we know, warm and dry weather into the south. In the north, you stay westerly. You stay under the influence of low pressure. And by next Monday, actually, I think we're all going westerly. Still quite dry in the south. Showers in the east and north. And that trough and quite cool as well. Yeah, so pretty nondescript, if I'm being honest, from the GEM. Icon, yeah, deep low comes through now. And then, let's see what happens here. So there's also a trust to come northwards. In the south, dry and warm, as we've established. In the north, you know, westerly winds, rain, drizzle showers. You can see that belt of rain there. That would just pile into those highlands of Scotland. I tell you, you're in for a deluge. And then, going into next week, so you see what's happening here. We have the jet stream, sort of, on the black line, it's going northwards, and we've got a deep low near Greenland and a ridge to its east. That can help ridge that Azores High northwards. It's got a gap to form itself northwards there, and it does a bit more so than the other runs show it doing. But eventually, by next Thursday, we're back into westerly winds. Arpege, well, similar story. Azores High comes through, maybe a bit tad northwards than the other models, not sure. And then we end up next Monday, well, in the south, again, decent. In the north, well, different story. I think this pattern could be quite nondescript and stagnant. In the south, it's decent. In the north, you're going to be fed up of the cloud and misery, because it'll be a very cloudy pattern on that wind from the southwest. You see a lot of cloud piling in and plenty of rain. You see that belt of rain. You just keep seeing these pulses of rain, and in between, probably a lot of drizzle, low cloud, mist and murk. In the Midlands, you know, be bright days, cloudy days, and quite humid. So here's the temperature graph aloft for London. The ensembles from GFS again. So starting off now about average to a bit above, bit of changing going on as we got like cold front tonight and tomorrow. Otherwise, again, we have that upward trend, but it's not really that dramatic. You're sort of seeing that average line about 5 degrees above the mean line. And in some are still going very hot, but others are keeping it cooler as well. So it shows you a big spread, and it all depends on how far north that Azores High gets. Now, last week we were talking about the possibility of it going eastwards and bringing up again another southerly wind, but at this point it looks unlikely, just given how deep those areas of low pressure are to the north and how layered the atmosphere is. How we basically have zones of weather in lines, and that stops the high pressure from going northwards. And we happen to be basically right in the middle of two zones, high to the south, low to the north. And also that would be quite conducive, I think, to more extreme heat in parts of Spain and France and Europe, just because you'll be trapped under the high pressure for days and days and ends. Late June, start of July. We're start of July now. Sun's very strong, just bakes the ground day after day, day after day. That heat dome not being released, so you see a lot of hot weather in those parts of the country. You can see it there, stays there. Could be very hot, bit like summer of 2023, where we saw a lot of low pressure through the Atlantic Ocean into Europe, and northern Europe anyway, and in the south of Europe, like Spain, Iberia, into Italy, into the Mediterranean as well. You saw a heat dome just built day after day, and we saw those temperatures. We had the records broken. It was a very hot summer just because that heat was trapped and couldn't go anywhere. Let's go somewhere northwards, like Dublin. You can see upwards trend in temperatures here, about 5 degrees above the average line, mean line, and it comes down into mid-July. So any warm-up are short-lived, and Dublin, you're kind of like, on the border between the decent weather and the cloudy weather to the north. And let's go Glasgow, because that'll be a bit, it's quite far north. Glasgow, even less of an increase in temperature, about 4 degrees for 2 days above the average mean line there. Otherwise, you're average to a bit above average. So it shows you in the north and northwest, going to be quite exposed to the rain, a bit cooler. East and south, always better. Unfortunately, it's a downgrade on what we saw earlier. I'll say unfortunately, but I know for quite a lot of people, it will be a good thing, because the heat isn't always fun. And if you're in the east and south of Ireland and the UK, well, the weather will be decent still, just not as hot. In the west and north, though, I think that's where people will be complaining, just given the fact that you could end up with rickets in July, which is quite depressing. Anyway, everyone, thanks for watching. I'll see you. Bye for now.